Hi students, how's it going? It's Pete Posner here at Big Break English, your British English teacher. In today's lesson, we're looking at IELTS Writing Task 1, describing a process, and specifically using the structure before or after plus verb ing, which is going to help you score higher for grammar range and accuracy because this is a complex structure, okay? And also we're going to review using linkers in describing a process, which will help you score higher for coherence and cohesion, okay? And I'm going to start by reading a description of a process to you, and I want you to guess what process I'm describing. And a little clue for you, it's an everyday process that is very common in the UK. Okay, now what I'm going to do when I read this process is I'm going to leave out a key word that will reveal what the process is. I'm going to say blank instead of this key word. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Okay, so first of all, fill the kettle with water and then boil the kettle. Any ideas so far? After taking the kettle off the stove, pour the water into a cup. Any ideas yet? Okay, I'll continue. After that, put a blank bag in the cup. Okay, so replace the keyword with blank there. Do you know what it is? Okay. Finally, after adding milk and sugar, leave the blank for 2 minutes before drinking it. Okay, so probably you guessed what it was. So it was making a cup of tea. Okay, that was the process. Guys, by the way, this lesson is on IELTS Writing Task 1, but if you also need help on IELTS Writing Task 2, you can download my free ebook, 12 Tips for Scoring Higher on IELTS Writing Task 2. There's a link in the description of this video. Okay, students, I'm going to read that description one more time and have another little task for you. Tick the 4 linkers that I use in my description. And if you haven't watched the video on linkers, I will leave a link at the end of this video. Okay, so it's linkers in IELTS Writing Task 1 describing a process. Okay, and also I'm going to ask you as well to see if you can notice in this description where I use before or after plus verb ing. Okay, so there's 2 things to do here, right? I'm going to give you an example for the first part. Okay, so listen to the beginning of this description and listen for one of these linkers. Okay, we have 3 types. The first stage is next, and the last stage is. Okay, I'm going to start the description. First of all, fill the kettle with water. Okay, this is the example. Okay, so you probably heard it, right? First of all, so you tick first of all. Okay, so I'm going to continue, or I'm going to start that again and read the whole description, and you have to tick 3 more. Okay, there are 4 in total. Okay, and the other thing is, see if you can notice where I use before or after plus verb ing. Okay, here we go. First of all, fill the kettle with water and then boil the kettle. After taking the kettle off the stove, pour the water into a cup. After that, put a tea bag in the cup. Finally, after adding milk and sugar, leave the tea for 2 minutes before drinking it. Okay, so pause the video and check, and then we'll, in a minute, we'll check those together. Okay, so how did you do with the linkers first? Okay, so the example was first of all. We also had after that, right? And then, and finally. Okay. Okay, so here's the transcript, and you can see in bold those 4 linkers. Okay. Now, did you notice the use of before or after plus verb ing? We had after taking the kettle off the stove, after adding milk and sugar, and before drinking it. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at that in more detail. Okay, before or after plus verb ing. Okay, so you can link 2 steps using this structure. Okay. Okay, so it's before or after plus the verb ing, and then you need a comma, okay, and then the clause. For example, after taking, right, there's your verb ing, taking the kettle off the stove, then the comma, right, and then the clause. Pour the water into a cup. Okay, now you can also do this the other way. You can start with the clause, right? And if you do this, then you should have no comma. Okay, then before or after, and then the verb ing. So for example, if we start with the clause here, leave the tea for 2 minutes, that's your clause, before, so there's no comma here, right? Drinking it, there's your verb ing, okay? So that's the same as saying it the other way, the first way that we looked at, which would be before drinking the tea. So if we start with before or after, right, then we use the comma. So we've got before drinking the tea, comma, leave it for 2 minutes, right? But if we start with the clause, leave the tea for 2 minutes before drinking it, then there is no comma. Okay, students, time to practice. Can you combine the 2 sentences using before or after plus verb ing? Now, more than one answer may be possible. For example, you open the tin of beans with a tin opener. You pour them into a saucepan. Okay, so you have to combine these 2 sentences into one. Okay, so one possibility is after plus verb ing. After opening the tin of beans with a tin opener, comma, you pour them into a saucepan. Okay, an alternative is open the tin of beans with a tin opener before, no comma, pouring them into a saucepan. Okay, so it really depends here what you want to emphasize. Okay, so in the first example, the part in bold is emphasized, right? So the part you emphasize is the clause that doesn't take before or after. The clause that takes before or after is not emphasized. Okay, so what's important in this first example is this: you pour them into a saucepan. In the other example, what's important is open the tin of beans with a tin opener. That's the emphasis here. Okay. Okay, so pause the video, take 4 minutes, and do the same for 1 to 4. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1 now. So you cover the beans with a saucepan top to keep them warm. You should turn off the stove. Okay, so one way would be before covering the beans with a saucepan top to keep them warm. Right, so before verb ing, covering, comma, you should turn off the stove. And this part you emphasize. This is your emphasis. Okay, or the other way is starting with the clause, you cover the beans with a saucepan top to keep them warm. That's your emphasis. No comma, after turning off the stove. Okay, so number 2, right? One way could be after spreading margarine or butter on the piece of toast. Okay, don't forget the comma. You pour the beans onto them. Okay, and that's your emphasis here, right? Okay, or an alternative could be, right, you spread margarine or butter on the piece of toast. You spread margarine or butter on the pieces of toast before pouring the beans onto them. Okay, so then the emphasis is that you spread margarine or butter on the pieces of toast. Okay, number 3, you boil the kettle. You boil the kettle before taking it off the stove. So no comma, because we started with the clause, the main clause, and that is your emphasis. Okay, or after boiling the kettle, after plus verb ing, comma, and then the main clause, which is your emphasis. You take it off the stove. Okay, finally number 4. Okay, so you leave the tea for 2 minutes. Okay, that's your main clause, your emphasis. Okay, before and then verb ing, drinking it, or after plus verb ing, after leaving the tea for 2 minutes, comma, right, and then your main clause, the emphasis, you drink it. Okay, students, that's it for today. So hopefully that was useful for you. Those are 2 things that you can practice when you do task 1 reports in which you have to describe a process. Okay, so one is practice using a range of linkers so that you can help to score higher in the area of coherence and cohesion. And the second thing is you could try using this complex structure before or after plus verb ing. Okay, so that will add to your range of complex structures and therefore will help you to score higher in the area of grammar range and accuracy. Okay, also remember to download my free ebook if you haven't already. 12 tips for scoring higher in IELTS writing task 2. There's a link in the description of this video. Well, if you enjoyed this video, then please like it and please share it. And I look forward to the next video. Okay, bye-bye.